everyone, and welcome to the Shadowmoon Burial Ground Gold Challenge Mode Updated Guide. I'm your host Babyjace, and I was the tank in this video. Now, for this challenge mode, you're going to want to have a specific comp. Now, you really want a hunter, but a shaman or a warrior will be fine. Like, they can pretty much do the same things as a hunter on the second and last boss, but you really want a hunter for the first boss. It makes a hunter in general will just fit all your needs for every boss, and it just really makes this instance a lot easier. Second, you're going to want a death knight or a shaman because you're going to want water walking. Now this is very important for what I'm going to be showing you in this video, and water walking makes this instance way easier. Last, you're going to want a druid of some kind. I know this is kind of like a lot of set specific classes, but each of these classes serve their own role. Now, you don't really need the druid, it just makes the last pull before the last boss a lot easier with 2 void fiends. And I'll explain that when we get there, but I mean, you really want a druid, a hunter, and a DK or a shaman. Like, I mean, you don't need all of these, but I mean, you can get away with having like DK shaman, druid, or just, you know, like a mooncun, or just anything like that. Like, it doesn't need to be a DK tank. It doesn't need to be a druid healer. Like, as long as you just have those classes, it should be fine. Anyways, for the start of this instance, you're going to pull the pack of 3 at the start. Now, just want to make sure you interrupt the caster. Don't let it get off Shadow Bolts or the heal. If you're a Death Knight, you can interrupt the first 2 Shadow Bolts and then Dark Sim, and you will get a skull looking icon, and this is a dot that does a lot of damage. Now, depending on the strat you want to use, you can either put the dot up on the giant void guy that you're going to be coming up here after this pack, or you can just put it on one of the skeletons and just kill it, you know, just a little bit faster. It's up to you. What we decided to do is we had our druid root the void spawn when it got to the side, and we just skipped it. We just ran right past it. Generally, you want to go to the side without the void spawn, but unfortunately we got unlucky here. But you just need to kick it. It really doesn't do too much as long as you are interrupting it. You know, strangulate works, silences work on it, so you know, you can just put a silence on it, or just interrupt it. It's really not a big deal. Just make sure you don't stand in the void orb that goes out, and don't stand on the runes. Don't trigger them. Now, when most of these are around half health, you can go ahead and start pulling the spiders, and just make sure you kill them with this so you're not wasting too much time. Now, if you're shaman, be careful. If you have the totem talent in the last talent row, you could accidentally pull the pack downstairs. So just be very, very, very careful so you don't do that, because if you do pull those mobs downstairs, you will. It's a wipe. You can't recover from that. So just don't do it. Once you kill the spiders, jump down, make sure you despawn pets like on Heroic, or you will pull a bunch of crap. That's not good. Kill these spiders. Once you've got the aggro on them and dotted up, I mean, you can just go towards the next pack. You don't really need to like sit there and kill them all. It's just a waste of time. You don't really do much. Go to the next pack, same rule here with this ad. Interrupt twice, and then Dark Sim for a skeleton looking icon ability. It does a massive dot. Don't stand in front of the skeletons. They do a cleave, and it does a lot of damage. Just you want to focus down the Mender, make sure it doesn't get a heal off, and then interrupt the Shadow Bolt whenever you can so that your tank doesn't get destroyed. Not too difficult of a pull. Once you do that pack, you're going to go to the next boss. Now, for the next boss, you may basically just want to sit next to the door where you spawn. You know, try not to stand in the weapons, and just ignore the ad that the boss summons. My buddy Dreams here, he's going to explain to you what you're going to want to do on this boss as a hunter for that ad, so that you can just ignore it and keep making the boss.
Alright, on this first boss, it is very important to have a hunter. Hunters are able to slow the ad that this boss spawns and makes your DPS not have to worry about it. The hunter will want to have Binding Shot and Concussive Shot to do this. When the ad spawns, he'll drop a Binding Shot where the ad is, which will stun it for 4 seconds, and then after the Binding Shot expires, you will chain Concussive Shots on the ad, and it will simply despawn. This allows your DPS to continuously hit the boss and kill the boss faster than having to swap your DPS over to the ad.
This boss is pretty much the same as it was on Heroic. Make sure you grab one of those white debuffs when it goes into this phase, or you will be finding it difficult to live through. You'll probably die. Once the phase ends, again, be careful, don't stand on any of the purple runes, and just start bringing the boss towards the stairs so that as soon as she dies, you can go to the next bowl. You're going to want to ignore this ad as well. You really cannot waste DPS on it. Just keep nuking the boss, and as long as you have your hunter do the binding shot and the concussive shot, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Once this boss dies, however, you're going to go up the stairs, make sure your healer has some mana, and then you're going to want to pull both packs of the Subjugated Souls and the Enslavers, and you're just going to want to grip them together if you have a Death Knight. If you don't, it's not a big deal. Make sure you're doing AoE interrupts, like so Blood Elf silences are really helpful. If you're a druid, you can put down Ursul's Vortex and Typhoon them, and the Typhoon will interrupt all of them, and then the Ursals will drag them back so that they don't like unstack. They'll still be stacked because of the Ursals. Just make sure you're interrupting the Rending Void Lash. It does a lot of damage on the tank. And if you are a Death Knight, you can Dark Sim Rending Void Lash and channel it, and it does do a lot of damage. Like, you pretty much will kill an ad with that. Just be careful that you don't die yourself, because you can't cast anything, really. So just make sure you don't die yourself. Go ahead and go to the next two Exhumers. If you can prevent one of them from casting the Exhume, it's not a big deal. If one of them gets it off, just you don't want both of them to get it, because then you'll have to deal with 4 spirits, and they kind of do hit a little hard. So just make sure to interrupt however many void bolts that you can. So my bad. And you can Dark Sim them too if you have the time. I didn't glyph it in here since I kind of wanted the other glyphs instead. And it's not like Dark Simming in this instance really makes or breaks. It's not like you need it often like in Akendune or something. Once you've killed that trash, make sure you're careful. Go to the right side so that you are not pulling any of those spirits on the ground. See here, we avoided all of them, and you're just going to go ahead and pull the boss. Now, on this boss, there is a little trick that you can do with hunters, shamans, and warriors for the later part of the fight, but until that point, this boss is pretty much the same as on Heroic. Don't position the breath where it's hitting the entire group. Make sure that you kill your spirit, as soon as you can, so you can click on it and receive that damage bonus, and, don't stand in the void zones unless you are specifically trying to do the trick. Now, to explain the trick on how to make this boss a lot easier when those void zones come out, again, Dreams is going to explain what you need to do if you're a hunter, shaman, or warrior.
On the second boss, it is very important to either bring a shaman, warrior, or hunter. All 3 of these classes have reflectable talents, which will make killing this boss a lot easier. These 3 things are Mirrored Blades from the hunter, Grounding Totem from the shaman, and Mass Throw Effect from the warrior. After you kill your clone and come out, the boss will do Void Devastation. During this time, there will be small purple patches all over the ground. You will simply use your Grounding Reflect, Mass Throw Effect, or Mirrored Blades and stand in it. This will put up a dot on the boss. Make sure after the dot is on the boss, you get out of it, because it will do a high amount of damage to the player.
As he explained, here are the void zones. You can see our hunter going into the void zone now. He is reflecting the dot back onto the boss, and the boss at this point is just melting. Now if you're DK, you can army here. It makes this pull a little easier. I forgot to use army. Not that it was needed. I kind of almost died, but that was before I started using cooldowns, trying to get them all together. But army is good here, but I just didn't use it. As you can see, you don't need it, so if you're not a Death Knight, you don't have to worry about Army of the Dead. Or if you don't have a Death Knight in your group, I mean. Again, try to interrupt the Void Lashes. You can see there, we did the Typhoon Ursul's Vortex interrupt. That's very popular. Make sure you do that if that's an option, if you don't really have too many AoE silences. And once you kill this pack, you just go ahead and go along. Now, we accidentally pulled one of the spirits, so I had to turn around and get aggro on it. But generally, if one of you accidentally pulls a spirit like that, you just want to make sure your tank gets aggro, and then he just continues on. And, your range can generally handle that spirit, so that you're not wasting too much time on it. because if you're staying back there, like you're not able to pull this next back, whereas I'm able to pull it like right away. I'm gonna pull the spider with the 2 bats. Now, if you have a Death Knight, you can Dark Sim the Death Venom that the Corpse Spider does, and it does a lot of damage. So make sure you can get a Dark Sim off on that, and then just interrupt the Necrotic Burst. That's just does a lot of damage to your group, and you really don't want to let those go off. Now, note, however, that your tank will take a lot of damage here, as he will have 5 stacks of the poison that the bats put on. So if you are able to dispel it, go ahead and do it. Just be aware that they're going to stack up pretty fast again. So it's not like a permanent solution, it's just a very temporary couple seconds of relief. Now once you really only have 1 bat left, just go ahead and pull the spiders and start AoEing them down. I like to AoE, make sure these are all dead before doing the next pull, but I mean, depending on if you need time or not, you can just go straight to the next pull with those spiders. Now I like to pull both of these corpse spiders and then put them in the corner right over here so that you're not pulling the other 2 corpse spiders that are down like a little hallway cave area. Just mark one of them with skull so that you're nuking it down, and try to interrupt as many necrotic bursts as you can so that they're not killing you. But again, mark one with skull so that you're killing that one ASAP, so then you can only focus on the one and only have to deal with one of their casts instead of both casts. Now once you do kill these mobs, make sure no one has any dots on them or anything like that that would break water walking. And what you're going to do here is you're going to use Path of Frost, or you're going to use your Shaman Water Walking, and you're going to go ahead and jump on the water. Now you can't use any abilities once you're on the water, so just make sure you have everything correct. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to the left side of this pillar. If you go to the right side, you will pull the bats and you will pull the worms, and you will wipe. So don't do that. You need to go to the left side of the pillar, and you're going to Path of Frost to that little geyser that you see ahead of you, and everyone's just going to jump up one at a time on this geyser, and then you basically skip all the trash, and you don't need to worry about mob count. You'll have mob count, don't worry about that. Just everyone get up on the portal and you'll be able to do the 3rd boss. Now this 3rd boss is essentially the exact same as Heroic, just everything deals a lot more damage. So if you do get hit by the inhale, you probably will die, but just be careful. On his 2nd inhale, you do not want to stand in the very first puddle that he spawns. And the reason why you don't want to do that is because that puddle will disappear mid-inhale and you will die. As you will see it happen to us, actually. One of our players, the mage, didn't hear me make that call out, and he's going to stand in that inhale and he will die. It's not too big of a deal, like we were still able to kill the boss, but it's going to be really hard to B-res them if they're like right on the edge. Like I actually couldn't B-res, but you just kill the boss and then he releases and he gets released right there, since it wasn't like too big of an issue. Again, you really just need to nuke down Bone Maw. If you have cooldowns to use here, you can go ahead and use them. You don't really need them for the next boss. You're going to have Lust for the next boss, and I'm going to explain what else you can do in the next boss, and so is Dreams, but you don't have to worry about the DPS check on the next boss. Like, it's really easy. So if you have DPS cooldowns or healer cooldowns, just go ahead and use them on this boss, because this is going to be probably the hardest boss in the entire instance, honestly. Like this is honestly probably the hardest boss. Like if you're going to wipe on any of the bosses, it's going to be this one. So if you have cooldowns, just use them here. Alright, once this boss is dead, go ahead and release. If you died, you'll spawn right there, and you'll go straight to the next pull. It's going to be 2 spiders and 2 bats. Same thing, mark a spider, you can Dark Sim it if you want. Not the Necrotic Burst, Dark Sim the Venom. It does a lot of damage. Make sure you communicate that with your group though if you're going to do that, so no one interrupts it, like how we did here. But just focus on one of the spiders, and then once one spider is dead, go ahead and focus on the other spider. Bats aren't too big of a deal. You really don't want to concern yourselves with the bats. It's just the spiders that are pretty much the deadliest part of this pull. But it's not even that big of it's not really that hard of a pull. Once you kill them, you're going to want your druid to run up ahead of the group and you're going to want your druid to either Entangling Roots the left or the right mob. And once you do that, you can Death Grip the mob that you didn't root. And as long as you are out of range of the rooted mob, you will not get hit by his AoE explosion. And that's going to make things a lot easier if you only have to focus on DPSing one mob and only have to focus on interrupting one mob instead of two. Just make sure you are out of range of it. It's very important you're out of range of the other mob, because if you're still in range, you are going to take a lot of damage from his burst, which is what happened to our rogue here. He was in range for one of the casts and he got really low. Once you kill the first one, go ahead and go to the second mob and just, same thing, interrupt it. Don't really let it get cast off. It's not too big of a deal. If you don't have Entangling Roots or a way to keep it back there, this pull is a little bit harder. You're going to have to arrange your interrupts in a way so that 2 interrupts in a row are not going off, because that will wipe you. I mean, you can let like one go off but interrupt the next one. You kind of have to do stuff like that. Once you get down here though, you go ahead and pull this boss, use whatever cooldowns you have on the pull, lust on the pull, everything, and just nuke into this boss. You don't have to worry about swapping DPS to the skeleton adds, because your hunter, shaman, or warrior is going to take care of that. And it's really easy to deal with. Like, this boss is so easy if you don't have to deal with those. And I'm going to have Dreams here, again, explain what you need to do if you're a warrior, shaman, or hunter.
Alright, on this boss, it is very important to have the similar classes as you did in the second boss. You can do a similar reflect strategy that you did in the second boss. When this boss does Ritual of Bones and all the skeletons come marching across the platform, you can use your Grounding Totem, Mass Spell Reflect, or Mirrored Blades Deter, and instantly kill the skeletons. This will, similar to the first boss strategy, allows your DPS to tunnel on the boss and not have to worry about swapping to any adds.
As you saw there, it's very easy to deal with. Like, we kill this boss so fast because we don't waste any damage on those skeletons. And honestly, it makes this instance one of the easier instances to deal with. Like, all these changes from my first guide make this instance a lot easier to deal with. Unfortunately, like I said in the beginning, it requires a little bit more class stacking. So it could be a little harder for groups if you don't have that, if you don't have like a hunter or a DK or a shaman or just or like a druid or just any of the classes that allow you to cheese a lot of the mechanics here. I mean, if you can't cheese every single mechanic, cheesing some of them is still better than cheesing none of them. So whatever you can do, just do it. Again, this is the easiest way to do it. It's not the only way, but it's the easiest way. Now, if you found this guide helpful or any of my other guides helpful, go ahead and subscribe, like the video. If you have any comments to leave about what we could change or what's easier, go ahead and do that in the comments. Or if you think a strat's easier, go ahead and put that in the comments. Other people will see that. Maybe they'll decide to do that too. All the other videos are here in front of you. Just click on one of them and it'll redirect you. And other than that, have a good day.